Welcome. This is Suzanne,
Lauri, Susan,
Roxie.
and we are Three Old Broads and a Lady. Hi, this is Suzanne.
This is Lauri.
This is Roxie.
And this is Susan. And today we're going to talk about how we lived to tell the tale.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dum, dum, dum. And some people might think it's a morbid subject, but I don't know that it is. I think it's actually a story of triumph, of success.
Right.
We're still here.
Yes, we're still here. And as a matter of fact, it is estimated that the average person escapes death 6 times in their lifetime. Sometimes they don't even know they escaped it, but it's still estimated that they did it 6 times. One of the good things about that is if you've only escaped death 4 times, then you still have 2 more to go.
Yay!
So that's good. That's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Or it means that you're just not observant at all.
It's like Mr. Magoo
Right.
walking through,
walking down the manhole cover.
Yes.
And all that stuff.
But anyway, so the question today is, like, what are some of the times when something happened and you said to yourself, "Oh boy,
Yeah.
that was a close one." Anybody got something to tell? Well, I guess all right then. I guess I can start with it.
Yes.
I have had 2 times in my life when I did really fear, at least 2 times when I really did fear for myself. And both of them were times when somebody entered my house in the middle of the night when I was asleep.
Oh.
The first one was when I was in college and I was living by myself, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I heard something walking around in the living room. I was in a bedroom, and when you live alone, sometimes you do think you hear things. This was unmistakable. It was definitely somebody walking around in my living room. And I'm lying in my bed, going, and I see the shadow of a head look into my bedroom, and then the head went away, and then I hear more shuffling. And I'm going, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. And then the head comes back again. I can't see any features. It's like a shadow, and just looks in again, and then goes back and starts shuffling around. And so then I went, well, I'm going to have to do something about this because otherwise something bad is going to happen to me.
Yeah.
So I'm looking around for a weapon, and all I can find is this little alarm clock. Remember, there used to be alarm clocks, and it was like, it was a little round metal thing that was just the size of my hand. And that was the only thing I had that I could defend myself with. But I went, okay, I'm going to grab that at least. And then the next thing that I looked at, I saw that I had a big picture framed, but it was big and it was tall. It was a big one. And I thought, that'll fit right under the knob of my door. So I also thought, you know what? If I start screaming now, it's more likely that they might run away than if when they come in when they're looking in the room again, and they'll come towards me. But maybe they'll run away. So I started screaming as loud as I could, and then I ran to the door. I slammed it closed, and I put the picture underneath it. And then I go, okay, now what do I do? And fortunately, I was on the ground floor of the apartment building. So I climbed out the window, still screaming as loudly as I could, and I run to the next apartment over. The people that lived there, I didn't know them, but I ran over there. I'm still screaming, and I start knocking on the window, and I look inside the window, and I see these two girls holding on to each other in terror. They're not going to help me because they don't know what's happening. All they hear is this screaming and someone tapping on their window. But anyway, eventually they realized that I was the victim and I wasn't coming after them. So then they let me in, and then we went out and we found that the person had left my apartment. And we found that there was a window that I thought was latched, but apparently the latch was broken on it, that they had let themselves in through and when we told the manager about that, then the manager said, oh yeah, I knew about that broken latch. I should have said something.
Yeah.
But anyway, so from that, I decided that it was probably not a good idea when you're in a big apartment complex to have a single woman's name on the mailbox.
Nope.
It's better to either just have maybe just the last name, but I had my whole name and just me on the mailbox, So that was, but what was lucky was that I woke up so then the other one, I'm sorry, I'm monopolizing this conversation, but the other time when I escaped death, my husband and I moved to New York City, and we were living in this apartment. It was like an old tenement building. It didn't even have, the bathroom wasn't even in our apartment. You had to go down the hallway to get to the bathroom. So it was just like one big room that was like a living room and kitchen. And then there was a little bedroom off to the side that was separate, but it didn't really have a door. It just was a separate, almost like a very large closet. So anyway, so we were sleeping in there, and we woke up the next day, and we were living in New York City, and we were, very young. So we didn't even have a bed. We just had a mattress that was on the floor. And we woke up, and right next to the mattress, my husband had put his pants for the night, he'd taken off his pants, and the pockets had been gone through, and his wallet was missing. And my jewelry box, the jewelry was like spread all the way across the living room. And when we came out, then there was a big butcher knife that was in our kitchen, was lying right in the middle of the floor. And then you could see also going down the fire escape. That's the way they had gotten in. Going down the fire escape was more of my jewelry. So you could see like but here's the thing. And that time we didn't wake up, which would have been disastrous if we had woken up, because they obviously had the butcher knife as they were right next to my husband's face. They were taking his wallet out and stealing my jewelry. So if we had woken up that time, we would have been murdered.
Probably.
And when I did wake up the other time, if I hadn't woken up, I might have been murdered. So you see, so for both of those, it was like some kind of miracle that if it had been reversed and I had woken up in the first time, or not, or, the opposite. If I had stayed asleep the first time and woken up the second time, either one of those would have been disastrous.
Yeah. So death is 0 for 2 with you.
So
then.
I have lived to tell the tale twice at least. Yes.
Well,
Wow.
Weren't you kind of insulted that they didn't take your jewelry?
Well, I think what I think is what happened was that they grabbed it, and then maybe one of us like started moving around or something, and then they just ran, and they dropped it. I think.
I was just kidding.
Yeah.
When I worked at May Company, somebody broke into my 1957 Chevy, and I had an 8-track player. They stole the 8-track player, but they left all the tapes, which really insulted me. Because I thought, you don't like my music? What's wrong with you?
They wanted their stuff.
Yeah, but you weren't in the car or anything. Were you?
No, I wasn't in the car. No.
Okay, because so you really
No,
didn't escape death.
I'm not talking about
She's
escaping
just
death.
on whether you have valuable stuff or not.
She's just talking about
that was
judgmental
something
thieves.
entirely
Well, and it could be that they did, open up my jewelry box and go,
Oh, crap.
I grabbed a butcher knife and I was about to kill somebody for this.
Yeah.
Would have been that too.
Yeah, could have been.
Well, I have a story. It's
Yes.
not quite as important as yours. But anyway, I was 3. I know I was 3. because we were renting a house because we sold our house in Pico shortly after I turned 3. Actually, I remember my 3rd birthday. And we had to go into this rental house because the house we were building in Whittier that I live in now was not done yet. And so we couldn't move in for a while. So we just had this rental house. And somewhere along the line, you're a kid, you're 3, what do you know? And suddenly it's like, well, we packed every stuff up, all your stuff up, and we're going on a trip. And Dad comes around with a trailer that he had rented. And we took a, week or so off or something. Of course, I don't know what a week was when I was 3. The days just come and go. So anyway, we're, going up the state, and then we came back down, and for a while we stayed at Morro Bay, which was really nice. And we did various things. We went fishing and caught a whole bunch of red snappers, and we had those for dinner. And we were driving along, and I guess we needed to stop for something. I don't know. It didn't seem like, maybe it's a rest stop. I don't remember, but we were going to dwell there for a while. And there was all these wildflowers all over the place. And they were just like thick of wildflowers. And my sister and I were out picking these flowers, and my parents were getting ready we're going to have a little picnic, and we were laying the blanket down, and we were going to get stuff out. And so we were doing that. And I'm playing around, and Karen's playing around, and I'm shorter than she is because I'm 2 years younger. And Mom's looking out, oh, yeah, there's the flowers. Yeah, that's great. Well, I found a little path, and I started down the path, and the incline was, I don't know, but anyway, it was almost imperceptible, but I started running, and I ran and ran, and I went, I have never run this fast in my whole life, or at least that's what I was thinking. Oh, I was just running, having a wonderful time, running. And my mom, suddenly she looks and she sees Karen, my sister, but she doesn't see me. Where's Lauri? And then she saw my little head bouncing along, because she could only see that part of me because I would always wildflowers are very tall. And I'm running. And I was just having a terrific time. And and all of a sudden a big arm comes around and grabs me. It was my dad, and he picks me up, and it's like hanging on to me in a vice. His hands are, his other hands involved. He's holding on to me by, rib cage. And he says, where do you think you were going? Oh, Dad, I was just running. It was really fun. And he says, well, this is just about where you were going to wind up. And he turns my body so I could look down and see, oh, my God. It was like the Pacific Ocean crashing waves, 50 feet, down. There was no way.
Steps away.
Yeah, seriously, steps away. He didn't move. He had me. When he grabbed me, he didn't have to move closer. I was that close to going right over the cliff.
Oh my gosh.
And I just told the tale. I lived to tell about it. I don't think I would have survived that adventure. It would be like in the cartoons, where they run out, and of course then they realize, they look down and go, oops,
Yeah.
And
their feet are still running.
It's just like, oh no. So yeah, that's my death escape.
Oh my gosh.
And my parents were real nice about it, because they were so grateful that I didn't go over the cliff.
They were traumatized, I'm sure.
It's like they didn't yell at me or anything. It was like, I'm so glad you're still alive.
Oh, gee.
Karen was like, eh.
Yeah, she kind of had that, what a show off. Here's some wildflowers.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I told this story before, so about being lost in the San Bernardino Mountains in Idlewild.
No,
with the 14-year-old.
so.
I don't remember that. Well, you've told the story, but not to us.
Well, okay, good, because I thought I recorded it, but who knows?
Oh, well.
Well, maybe we weren't.
We don't remember it.
Maybe we weren't paying attention. I don't know.
I was with a friend of mine up in Idlewild. We were camping up there. I was with her and her 2 sons and her daughter, who was 14 years old, and we'd just eaten dinner. And she said, let's walk to this old mill. It's just right over here. And so I'm like, okay. So, well, it wasn't right over here. It was quite a ways. And by the time we got to it, it was getting dark. We had no flashlights. We had nothing. Okay. And so we started to go back, lost the trail. where I'm walking around with this 14-year-old who is absolutely just digging their nails into my arm, holding on to me. And I'm telling her, it's okay. It's okay. In my head, I'm going, I'm going to die. So we kept walking and walking. There's no trail. I'm like, where the hell are we? I hear dogs barking. And I go, you hear a dog? And she goes, yeah. And I said, that means there's probably people there. Let's go toward the sound of the dog. Well, it was dogs at a ranger station. We actually were 5 miles
Oh my gosh.
from where we started.
Oh, jeez.
And the ranger took us back. And when we got back to the campsite, we walked in. She said, my mom's freaking out. My mom's probably freaking out. And we walk in, her mom's sitting there reading. And Serena, the little girl, goes, Mom, weren't you worried? We were gone for so long. And she goes, well, I knew you were with Suzanne. What could go wrong?
Well, never mind.
Yeah.
And it did all turn out just fine.
Yeah,
so.
it did. But that was scary.
Yes.
That was scary.
Roxie, what about you?
Oh, what about me? Well, I think I've told you this, guys. This is when I was in high school. We went to a Dodger game. My dad drove, and my mom and me and my sister in the summertime. And we're driving back from the game. It's late. Dodgers lost. And so, nothing had gone right all day. And I was sitting in the back seat with my sister. We were in a little Rambler American. It's a 2-door, okay? One of those ones where you flip forward the front seat to get in the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the back seat, and my mom is in the front. My dad's driving. And I sort of fall asleep. And the next thing I know, there's this bumping, and I kind of look up, and all I can see are the bright yellow markers that mark, don't go this way because this is, this, and there was a bumping and a thump. And then I hit the ground, and I rolled up against the chain link fence, which was all that used to divide one direction from the other. It was just chain link, and I come to a halt against the chain link fence. Ouch. And I look up, and way down the road, there's a car on fire. It's our car.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to get up. So I'm trying to pull myself up the chain link fence, and my dad comes running down looking for me. And it's okay, we're okay. It's all okay. But what happened was I don't know when I hit the ground or how I even did it, because when my parents' car came to rest against the chain link fence, my dad couldn't get out the driver's side. The door was jammed. So my mother slid out. My father slid out. They flipped the thing forward, reach in for my sister and go, where's Roxie? And my sister's like, I don't know. She's not here. I don't know. And I still don't know how I got out the back of that car. Honest to God, I don't.
Well, that's right here.
Yeah, it's
guardian angels.
Guardian angels, absolutely. But yeah, so
nobody knows what I'm talking about.
The
They're
car,
listening to this.
Yeah.
So.
The car was totaled. They hauled it away, and when my dad went to claim it the next day, the whole back seat was burned out, and the trunk area and everything. It was a total loss. And honestly, I still to this day have no idea how I got out of that car. I ended up with a part of my bangs. I hit my head, and it scraped away. So I had this scrape thing. I had to cover my hair all over my forehead for my class picture, which was like the next week. My mother broke a couple of ribs sitting in the front seat, and my sister, nothing. My dad, nothing. And I broke a bone in the middle of my foot. It was the weirdest thing.
Didn't even know you had bones in the middle of your foot.
Well, there's nothing to do for bones that break in the middle of your foot. It was like, well, it's broken, but if you just, we'll wrap it up. Don't step too hard on it for the next week, and you'll be fine. And so it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's my story, and I live to tell the tale.
Well, speaking of guardian angels, as you just did, my dad was, I don't know, you never heard him talking about God or anything like that, although we went to church when we were younger and all of that. But one thing that he really did believe in was guardian angels. And he always thought that there was somebody that was watching over him. And part of it came from some of his war experiences, because he was a pilot in World War II. And he had a couple of very close calls. One time when they were in combat, and when they finally got back, they counted like I can't remember how many, maybe 30 bullet holes or something through their plane, and none of them had been injured. And so he always thought, well, somebody was looking over us there. And then there was another time when his plane was the last in the formation. They'd fly in formations, but they were what he said they used to call tail end Charlie. And tail end Charlie was the most vulnerable of all of the ones, because they were the ones that could get picked off the most easily by the enemy. And so they were the tail end Charlie for that particular mission, and they're flying. But it just happened, it was just happenstance that one of the other planes took a wrong turn as they were all like making some kind of turn, and took the wrong turn. And then when they realized that they had to fall in and become the tail end Charlie, and my dad's plane was no longer the tail end Charlie, and that plane got like shot down.
Oh.
And so my dad always went again, too bad for the guardian angels of those other people, but for him, it was
somebody wants me to kind of do more things.
Yeah, somebody wants me to have children, and I'm glad he did.
Yes,
but anyway,
wholeheartedly.
But so I always thought, I always felt if I have a guardian angel, it's a pretty good one that went to guardian angel school and is, got an A+.
Top of the class.
Yeah. and I always think, gee, I feel bad for those ones that that got the C minus ones.
Pass fail.
Yeah, the pass fail ones that just barely pass. Yeah. But then you go, well, maybe that's why some people have more luck and other people don't. I don't know, but anyway.
Well, yeah, that there's a lot of. Well, what does Shakespeare say? We were talking about that earlier.
I don't know what does
when
he
we're
say?
Eating lunch. There's more things in heaven than earth than are dreamt of in your philosophy.
That's true. That's true. I had one time when I was in Spain as a youth, as a young woman, and I don't know why the circumstances were this, because I was with other people, traveling with other people, but somehow I had gotten too late in a Spanish bar. And I had to get home. I had to get back to the hotel, but my friends weren't with me. I don't know why. And so I had to get home, get back to and it was quite a ways. It was like a mile or more to get home. And so I somehow thought it was a really good idea, because it was like 2 a.m. in the morning, to walk home by myself in a Spanish town. But I did. But one thing that I did do, and I've done this other times too, is I walked down the middle of the street, because I figured if you walk down the middle of the street, you can see anything coming at you. If you walk down like a sidewalk, somebody can jump out at you from the bushes or whatever. So I walked down the middle of the street, and and as I was walking, I suddenly sort of got the feeling that there's like somebody following. And so I'm walking, and they keep, they don't turn away. They keep walking, but they don't get closer, and they don't do anything. So I just keep walking, and eventually I got to my hotel. And just as I start to go into my hotel, then that person says something like, buenas noches, and leaves. And it was like, I think they were like trying to protect me.
Yeah, they were.
And I'm very grateful for that.
But they should have told you ahead of time.
or whatever. Yeah, but it was, like I probably would have been afraid of them if they tried to talk to me or something like that. But then sometimes I've thought, well, that was my guardian angel walking behind me.
Could have been.
That was protecting me. But anyway, so I guess that's 3 times. Oh no, it's getting closer and closer.
You're getting closer, yeah.
Yeah, I've gone way over. So there's so many. I mean, my mom and I were in Zihuatanejo to go to my nephew's wedding, because they did the destination wedding, and we were there ahead of time. So I told her, let's go. There's supposed to be some Mexican ruins right outside of town. Let's go try and find them. And my mom said, okay, let's go find them. So first of all, there was a triathlon going on. And I'm coming out of the hotel in the car that we rented. And I get to the end, and there's the security guard there, and he smiles and waves at me, and I turn right into the triathlon.
Oh.
And then I'm trying to get out, and I don't speak Spanish, and I'm trying to talk to this police officer, tell him, how do I get out of here? How do I get out of this? And this lady comes up, and she speaks English and Spanish, and she's yelling at me, you're not supposed to be here. And I'm like, I know, I'm trying to figure out how to get out. And she just kept yelling at me. I finally told her, go away. Just go away. And the police officer finally showed me which way to go. So we ended up going, and we're driving and driving and driving. And we're going way up in these mountains and driving along. And all of a sudden we come to this little town. And I told my mom, maybe this is it. We're driving, and I'm looking, and it is the shadiest looking town I have ever been in. I am pretty sure it was a drug dealer town.
Yeah.
Because there were a ton of guys out there, and they were just watching us with that look like, what the hell are you doing here? And I'm driving with my mom. I'm like, Mom, I don't think we should be here. I got to the end of the street, turned around, we sped out of that place. But yeah, I'm serious. I that kind of made me a little bit nervous, just a little bit nervous.
Yeah, living to tell the tale on that one. For sure.
My mom still talks about that. Remember that time we went to that town and there were all those guys in there? They looked like drug dealers. I'm like, yeah, Mom, okay. Yeah, it's okay. It's all over.
Yes, I do remember that.
There's other ways to survive things. I think sometimes we're in the middle of what we call cancel culture these days, and sometimes people get caught up into, sometimes they're innocent and sometimes they're not, but they get caught up into this thing where they just, get blamed for things that they didn't do, or maybe they did do them, but then people just start canceling them and refusing to buy their products or to, let them make movies or, whatever it is. And that's also a way that people can sort of symbolically die. And so there's, trying to live to tell the tale of that. The thing is, though, that sometimes people do get resurrected, so to speak. I mean, look at some of these people that have been canceled for years, like Kevin Spacey or people like that are accused of these things. Like, I'm not gonna judge whether he was guilty or not for some of the things that they said he did, but now he's starting to sort of like revise.
Is he emerging as
re-emerging a bit? But
I see him at the Formosa Cafe with young guys.
That's
not that I'm casting aspersions on you, Kevin Spacey.
Well, you can. I'm not going to. I'm not going to say it one way or the other. Well, I'm just saying that's another way that you that you can get stuck into a situation where you have to try and struggle your way out. And sometimes you're not even really the one that, it's by association, you're somebody that you knew or you associated with people, and then or you just try to defend them. Yeah. And then now everybody wants to cancel you because you're trying to say, well, let's not say he really did it. And then, and then suddenly then everybody is angry at you too.
Well, it's very much like McCarthyism.
I was thinking of that too.
It's cancel culture. The two of them are very much the same. Mm-hmm. It's just different subjects or different reasons why, but it's very much the same.
Yeah. Right. And but it depends on what side you're on, whether you think it's McCarthyism or not too, because if you are like, wildly against this person or against this, this movement or whatever it is, then that's not McCarthyism. It's just, we are standing up for what's right, but then if some people get caught in that web and you still are so, single-minded that you can't see that person really doesn't deserve your wrath, then it can be bad.
Well, that would be a lot better, if you realize that everybody needs to just kind of take a step back and say, you have, these are things you learned from being a child, and you grew up thinking this way, and somebody else thinks another way, and that's true of then of the whole communist thing back in the 50s, and now it has to do with a lot of cultural stuff, and you just kind of go, well, why don't we figure out a pathway that we can go on where we all can kind of get along.
And yes, and maybe if we talk it out with each other, then maybe we can figure out how can come to
I wish that was true, but now it isn't so much true.
You can't do that now.
I think now
people are too headstrong into what they believe, and even though they can see that something is not the way that it's supposed to be, they're not going to change their mind, because even though maybe one or two people are really horrible and they have supported that person, if you say something bad, they feel like you're attacking them. It's not that person, it's them that's being attacked. And so it's why there's so much anger and so much meanness and so much of a divide. And
no one's listening to the other person if they are on a different page.
No. And if anybody's listening to this, if you feel like somebody's attacking you because of something that you believe in, you talk to that person.
Yeah, it's better to
talk to them. Ask them, talk to me. Is this what you feel about me? Or is this what you feel about whatever is going on?
Mm-hmm. And that's we kind of go through cycles, and the subjects are different. One was one thing and one was another, but it's still the same outcome. It's like somebody doesn't really deserve to be destroyed. If everybody would just say, back off and go, hey, we can all still find a place we can stand together.
Yeah.
I think there's a whole lot of righteous indignation that's going on right now, where people feel very comfortable in being righteously indignant. I'm on the right side, so you can't be possibly on the right side.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
I don't think there is a right side.
There's
You're
lots
wrong.
of sides.
I think there's a wrong side. I don't think there's a right side.
Yeah.
I think there's a middle of the road, but nobody will go there. So
they get canceled by both sides.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of that cancellation is guilt by association.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We were talking about that last night.
Yes, we were.
So, what do you do?
Well, I don't know. But
we're way over our time, by the way. We're like 34 minutes in.
Oh, okay. Well, we didn't really resolve anything, but we did manage to tell many tales.
Yeah, and I think in a roundabout way, we did a really good job. Not specifically mentioning anything, so
that's why people are listening.
It's a podcast about nothing.
Yeah, it worked for Jerry Seinfeld.
It should work for us. Yeah.
So I'm going to say, join us again next time. Maybe we might know what we're talking about. Maybe we might not. And
drop us a line.
We might just keep talking about nothing. At any rate, this is Suzanne.
This is Lauri.
This is Susan.
This is Rock.
And we
are
Three Old Broads and a Lady.